satisfied. I don't feel like I've ever embarrassed myself or my people, you know, in nothing that I've done. And yet and all, I got the whole world fearing me, you know what I'm saying? At 23, weighing 160 pounds, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't even started. I haven't even wrote my plan out yet, and they scared. I got the vice president know who I am, the president, every cop in every city.
What if the most famous tragedy in hip-hop history never actually happened? That single question has haunted fans, detectives, and journalists for almost 3 decades. Because when we look closely at what unfolded in Las Vegas in September 1996, the cracks in the official story aren't just visible, they're gaping. We're told Shakur was fatally wounded in a drive-by shooting, declared gone 6 days later, and quietly laid to rest. But from the moment the lights of the Las Vegas Strip flickered back on that night, the facts stopped adding up. First, there were no arrests. Not one. Even when a self-confessed associate of the gunman came forward, no one faced trial. Second, the cremation, allegedly arranged within 24 hours of the announcement, took place so fast that even close friends never saw the body. And third, crucial evidence vanished into thin air. The coroner's photos never surfaced, the hospital's files went missing, and the crematory worker responsible for the ashes retired the next day and was never seen again. It's the kind of sequence that would be impossible for any ordinary person. Yet somehow, it passed unquestioned in one of the most publicized cases in modern music. We're supposed to believe the investigation stalled because of silence on the streets, but insiders say it was something else entirely. A disappearance planned long before the first shot was ever fired.
Too, he was talking a lot of too. He was talking a whole lot of and sometimes like they gonna get at you when you talking. They gonna get at you, bro. You feel me? And as far as the situation, I know, you know, it supposed to be some between him and Haitian Jack and some jury or some like that or whatever it was, you know. And Biggie was telling, bro, you don't even with that.
That possibility took on new life in 2018 when a former bodyguard named Michael Nice stepped forward. He wasn't a random conspiracy voice. He had a resume tied to political movements and security contracts. Nice claimed he'd worked with figures connected to the Black Panthers, the same movement that shaped Shakur's parents. By his account, when word spread that a hit had been ordered on the rapper, a team was assembled to extract him from the United States. Nice said he was part of that mission, and what he described was nothing short of a covert escape.
Humans are not just good and bad, black and white. They're compassionate at times. They're at times. A man can be and compassionate to women at the same time. I was. Look at the lunatic and look at Brenda's got a baby.
He told reporters that Shakur was flown out on a private jet from Nevada to Barbados, hidden under the pretext of medical evacuation. The body left behind, he said, wasn't Shakur's at all, but a substitute arranged through a hospital insider. And the most explosive detail? According to Nice, the operation had been personally sanctioned by Fidel Castro, who supposedly agreed to shelter the rapper in Cuba under strict conditions. No public appearances, no confessions, and absolute silence about the deal. Nice insisted he held both audio and video proof, including recordings of Castro himself confirming the arrangement. Then, just as he prepared to release that evidence, Nice was found lifeless in December 2018. To those who believed his account, that wasn't coincidence. It was a warning. The first domino in a chain meant to keep a secret buried. After all, Nice had gone public, saying he risked everything because nobody's been arrested, because Shakur's not gone. Days later, he was. No foul play was ever confirmed, but those who followed the case saw a pattern forming. Anyone claiming to have proof seemed to vanish before their story could be verified.
I feel mad still that my brother, first of all, that's the...
Even without his testimony, the official narrative keeps collapsing under its own contradictions. 440 caliber bullets were said to have struck Shakur at close range, yet eyewitness reports from the hospital remain inconsistent. Some claim he was conscious long after the shooting. Others say he was whisked away before law enforcement could verify his identity. If the injuries were truly fatal, how could he have been transferred across borders within hours? And then there's the matter of the cremation, an alleged $3 million cash payment handed over to secure the procedure immediately. That figure defies logic. No standard cremation costs even a fraction of that. It sounds less like grief and more like someone paying for disappearance, not remembrance. Meanwhile, the cast of people orbiting the case has continued to blur the line between tribute and secrecy. Suge Knight, the man driving the BMW the night of the shooting, has spent years in and out of courtrooms, prisons, and interviews, always hinting, never confirming. In 2014, he told a reporter bluntly, "Shakur's not gone. he's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar. For years, that statement was dismissed as bravado. But this year, behind prison walls, Knight launched a podcast called Collect Call, and the tone shifted.
And as soon as I walked out of there, I went in the bathroom and I threw up and just laid on the floor for like 30 minutes. His mama came in there and cleaned me up.
During one episode, recorded in early 2025, Knight suddenly turned his focus towards Snoop Dogg, his former artist, now the public face of Death Row Records. He said Snoop has a lot of explaining to do about what happened in Las Vegas, implying that the story people think they know is not the real one. The statement hit like a grenade in hip-hop circles, because 3 years earlier, in 2022, Snoop quietly purchased the Death Row brand in a deal whose full details were never disclosed. No one knows who financed it, how much was paid, or which assets changed hands. The timing of Suge's accusation, right after that sale, has led some industry insiders to suspect that ownership of the label might have bought more than just music rights. It may have bought silence.
That's why you get these type of individuals always kicking dirt on Pac name after they made their millions from doing these documentaries.
The rivalry between the two men was legendary, but in this new context, their feud looks less like personal bitterness and more like a battle over who controls the narrative of Shakur's disappearance. Knight's prison broadcasts have been peppered with veiled jabs, questioning whether Snoop's new role is about honoring Death Row or rewriting its history. On one episode, he hinted that certain people at the label knew what really happened the night of the shooting, and that some of them had profited from keeping quiet. At the same time, old rumors are resurfacing. Former Outlaws members have accused Snoop of subtly undermining Shakur's legacy while claiming to celebrate it. Director Alan Hughes, who once made a documentary about the Shakur family, even said Snoop dimmed his light to let Shakur shine, an odd choice of words that some listeners now interpret as more than metaphorical. Because if Shakur truly survived and went underground, someone had to manage his absence. Someone had to inherit the label, the catalog, and the fortune that remained. When we line up the events, the rushed cremation, the missing records, the insider's confession, and Suge's renewed allegations, it starts to look less like a coincidence and more like coordination. Every time a clue surfaces, it's buried under new headlines, or the person behind it disappears. But the most chilling thread isn't from 1996 or 2018. It's from just last year.
Chaotic. It's hard to actually figure out what's what, but it's becoming clearer. It's becoming clearer and clearer, but...
In 2023, a private investigator named Jimmy Poole announced online that he had located photographic proof of Shakur living in Belize. He uploaded 2 images of a man in his 40s who looked unmistakably like Shakur, standing beside a local fan outside a beachfront cafe. Within 48 hours, the photos vanished. Poole's channel went offline, and friends reported he was unreachable. No official search was opened. No statement was given. Just silence. Again. And that's where everything turns from myth to menace. Because if Poole's evidence was genuine, it means Michael Nice wasn't the only one who knew Shakur was alive. It means the network protecting him didn't dissolve after the 90s. It evolved. It means the people who built the escape are still watching, still guarding the story, and still making sure that anyone who tries to expose it simply disappears before they can speak again. The more we dig into Shakur's so-called demise, the more it looks like a disappearance, and the more people tied to the truth end up gone or silenced. Jimmy Poole's 2023 revelation proved that. He wasn't a hobbyist chasing clicks. He was a licensed private investigator who went on record claiming he had photographic proof that Shakur was alive in Belize. The photos showed a man in his 40s with the same piercing eyes, the same scar along the jawline, standing in the midday sun beside a fan outside a small cafe. Poole posted them to his verified account, captioned with a promise of more to come. Within 2 days, the images vanished. His page went dark. Emails bounced back. Those who tried to contact him said the number was disconnected. And just like Michael Nice before him, Poole faded from public sight, right when the story was about to explode.
He said it was, according to him, he said it was security that accepted money, participated in it, and it was so-called homies.
That parallel is too perfect to ignore. Both men, one a former security officer, the other an investigator, claimed they could prove Shakur had survived. Both promised evidence involving flights, body swaps, and Cuban connections. Both went quiet right before they could show their files. When we compare their timelines, the symmetry looks deliberate, as if someone was cleaning up a trail that had grown too visible. Even Poole's last known post hinted that he was under pressure, writing cryptically that he might have to go offline for safety reasons. After that, nothing. No follow-up, no interviews, no public trace. Then there's the money trail. That $3 million cash payment for the cremation remains one of the strangest details in the entire saga. Who hands over that kind of money for a simple procedure? The number was never confirmed by official records, but several insiders close to the mortuary insisted the transaction was handled privately, without invoices. And right after it happened, the crematory worker in charge retired, moved out of state, and disappeared from every professional directory. No interviews, no farewell notice. It's as though he was paid to vanish right alongside the body he supposedly burned. Meanwhile, the justice system staged what looked like closure, but felt more like theater. In 2023, prosecutors charged former gang member Dwayne "Keefe" D. Davis with the shooting, but even that indictment came with caveats. They didn't seek the highest penalty, didn't press the case toward a public trial that could drag new names into court. It was a controlled explosion, loud enough to satisfy headlines, safe enough not to reveal the machinery underneath. The fact that Suge Knight, the only surviving witness inside the car, refused to testify says everything. From prison, he told reporters that Keefe D was a childhood friend and that he wouldn't wish prison on my worst enemy. That's not loyalty, it's protection. A man who once ruled the most dangerous label in hip-hop, now shielding the one person accused of shooting his biggest star. The question is why?
Ground, we had to stay heated and make sure that we protected ourselves, you know what I'm saying?
What if the answer lies not in what happened after the shooting, but in what was brewing before it? Those final months of Shakur's life were a psychological war zone, not just with East Coast rivals, but inside the walls of death row itself. By early 1996, the label that had once promised him freedom was beginning to feel like a gilded cage. He had started to see through the glitter, the late-night calls from executives, the missing royalty payments, the constant shadow of surveillance. Friends later described him as restless, paranoid, and convinced that the people around him were playing both sides. What looked like creative genius from the outside was, on the inside, an unraveling man who believed his own camp was setting him up. The tension with Snoop Dogg was the first public crack in that illusion. Just weeks before the Las Vegas shooting, the two were locked in a quiet but intense Cold War. Shakur felt betrayed by Snoop's radio interviews praising Biggie and Diddy, the very people he believed had orchestrated attempts on his life. Within Death Row's circle, that was treason. It wasn't just about loyalty. It was about survival in a world where alliances could be fatal. Those close to the label said Snoop began distancing himself, meeting with outside lawyers, exploring new business ventures. To Shakur, that was confirmation of his worst fear, that the brotherhood Suge Knight built was fracturing, and everyone was out for their own insurance policy.
You know what I'm saying? Everywhere we was going, we had to, keep our eyes open, 10 toes on it.
Behind closed doors, things were darker. Studio staff recalled explosive recording sessions where Shakur accused Suge of siphoning money, claiming his accounts didn't add up. He was furious that his albums were generating millions, yet his finances were being handled by men with mob ties. When he confronted them, he didn't hold back, slamming doors, throwing chairs, vowing to leave the label as soon as his contract was up. The music was supposed to be his way out, but the walls were closing in. By then, he'd already told friends he wanted to start his own company, take his master tapes, and go independent. If he'd followed through, it would have exposed everything. The secret investors, the hidden cash, and the names behind Death Row's untraceable money streams. One night that summer, the breaking point arrived. Witnesses later whispered about a violent argument inside a West Hollywood studio, where Shakur shouted that they were bleeding him dry. It wasn't just a meltdown, it was mutiny. That phrase, and the threat that followed, echoed through the label like a warning shot. By morning, some executives were already discussing how to contain him, fearing he would go public with what he knew. In the weeks that followed, the mood around Death Row turned ice cold. Bodyguards rotated without explanation, meetings were canceled, and Shakur's phone line, his lifeline to family and friends, was suddenly monitored. Seen through that lens, the Las Vegas shooting looks less like a random attack and more like the culmination of a power struggle. Shakur was no longer a cash cow. He was a liability, a man who held the map to the empire's secrets. If the whispers are true, his disappearance wasn't only a strategic escape from rivals, it was self-preservation from the people who once swore to protect him. Maybe he didn't fake his demise to hide from the world. Maybe he vanished to hide from the men who called themselves his brothers, but who had already decided that Shakur was worth more gone than alive. And that's where the lines start to blur, between loyalty, silence, and profit. Snoop Dogg's 2022 purchase of Death Row Records was celebrated as a full-circle moment, a legend reclaiming his roots. But behind the press releases, the numbers were locked down. No disclosure of price, no mention of investors, no record of what assets were included. Even the music catalog, arguably the label's biggest prize, wasn't part of the initial deal. Industry analysts whispered that someone else might have financed the buyout, perhaps to control what stayed buried in the label's archives.
When you get to be the age that we at and you get to become as successful as we are, you have to start doing some things that matter for the future.
Then came Suge Knight's 2025 outburst from his prison podcast, calling out Snoop directly. "What did you buy? Show me the paperwork," he demanded. To casual listeners, it sounded like ego. But for those following the Shakur story, it felt like something deeper. Was Knight hinting that the deal involved more than brand rights? That it was about erasing or rewriting records from the past? Because among the label's assets were contracts, tapes, and correspondence that could prove who handled Shakur's final recordings and how money moved after his disappearance. If those files were sealed or quietly acquired, the narrative could be managed forever. Even Snoop's own words now echo with strange weight. Years ago, he admitted that during the height of Death Row's fame, he dimmed his light so Shakur could shine. At the time, it sounded humble, a gesture of respect. But if Shakur's departure was engineered to clear a path for the next star, that phrase becomes chilling.
Did he dim his light? Or was someone else's light deliberately switched off so another could rise? Former Outlaws member Napoleon once said that Snoop had grown jealous of Shakur's dominance on the label, and director Alan Hughes repeated that same phrasing, "Snoop dimmed his light," as if everyone involved had agreed on a coded explanation. When we connect these threads, the vanished witnesses, the unexplained money, the staged legal cases, and the corporate deals sealed behind NDAs, the picture becomes darker than any simple conspiracy theory. It looks like a managed disappearance, protected by men who built empires on Shakur's name. Each decade brings a new distraction, a new confession, a new indictment that never leads to answers, and every person who steps too close to the truth either backs away or vanishes outright. Shakur's supposed demise was never just a tragedy. It was an operation, one that required cash payoffs, silenced witnesses, and a record label sold in the shadows. The question isn't whether Shakur faked his demise, it's who helped him do it, who profited most, and who's still making sure the truth stays buried. And if people this powerful are still protecting a secret after almost 30 years, what else are they hiding? Maybe the real story of Shakur isn't over. It's just waiting for the next person brave enough to tell it. Until then, we'll keep asking questions. What do you think really happened? Let us know your theories below. And as always, stay curious, stay alert, and we'll see you in the next one.